Now, folks, to set this off today, I have a message for Leighton Baker and Elliot Kelly of the New Conservatives. You must stop all this Marxist indoctrination that's going on in our schools today. We can no longer have our children being polluted with lies. And the only way to do this is by legally forcing our public education system to be politically neutral through new legislation. New Zealand can no longer be divided, especially in respect to race. We can no longer have our European children growing up feeling that they should be ashamed of their history and ashamed of the colour of their skin. We need to follow Trump's lead.
Left-wing mobs have torn down statues of our founders, desecrated our memorials, and carried out a campaign of violence and anarchy. Far-left demonstrators have chanted the words, "America was never great." The left has launched a vicious and violent assault on law enforcement, the universal symbol of the rule of law in America. These radicals have been aided and abetted by liberal politicians, establishment media, and even large corporations. Whether it is the mob on the street or the cancel culture in the boardroom, the goal is the same: to silence dissent, to scare you out of speaking the truth, and to bully Americans into abandoning their values, their heritage, and their very way of life. We are here today to declare that we will never submit to tyranny. We will reclaim our history and our country for citizens of every race, color, religion, and creed. The radicals burning American flags want to burn down the principles enshrined in our founding documents, including the bedrock principle of equal justice under law. In order to radically transform America, they must first cause Americans to lose confidence in who we are, where we came from, and what we believe. As I said at Mount Rushmore, which they would love to rip down and rip it down fast, that's never going to happen. 2 months ago, the left-wing cultural revolution is designed to overthrow the American Revolution. As many of you testified today, the left-wing rioting and mayhem are the direct result of decades of left-wing indoctrination in our schools. It's gone on far too long. Our children are instructed from propaganda tracks like those of Howard Zinn that try to make students ashamed of their own history.
Yes, and that is going on in Australia and New Zealand as well.
The left has warped, distorted, and defiled the American story with deceptions, falsehoods, and lies. There is no better example than the New York Times totally discredited 1619 Project. This project rewrites American history to teach our children that we were founded on the principle of oppression, not freedom. Nothing could be further from the truth. America's founding set in motion the unstoppable chain of events that abolished slavery, secured civil rights, defeated communism and fascism, and built the most fair, equal, and prosperous nation in human history. The narratives about America being pushed by the far left and being chanted in the streets bear a striking resemblance to the anti-American propaganda of our adversaries, because both groups want to see America weakened derided, and totally diminished. Students in our universities are inundated with critical race theory. This is a Marxist doctrine.
Yeah, straight out of the Frankfurt School.
Holding that America is a wicked and racist nation, that even young children are complicit in oppression, and that our entire society must be radically transformed. Critical race theory is being forced into our children's schools. It's being imposed into workplace trainings, and it's being deployed to rip apart friends, neighbors, and families.
Yeah, and this is the end result of that indoctrination.
Talk a little bit about university campuses and the culture at campuses. We've heard a lot about suppression of free speech and critical thinking, but now some increasingly radical students and staff are demanding a return to segregation. Let's look at this vision from the University of Virginia, where a woman tells white people their mere presence makes people uncomfortable.
Public service announcement. Excuse me. If y'all didn't know, this is the MSC, and frankly, there's just too many white people in here, and this is a space for people of color. So just be really cognizant of the space that you're taking up, because it does make some of us POCs uncomfortable when we see too many white people in here. It's only been open for 4 days, and frankly, there's the whole university for a lot of y'all to be at, and there's very few spaces for us. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and this...
White people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually. So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human being, because I believe that white people are born into not being human.
Wow, did you hear what she said then? She said, I believe that white people are born into not being human. And all of these brainwashed buffoons here took it.
Like that actually, instead of people of color and black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons. So in this particular way, white people are all racist. White people are...
Wow, and Australia has the same brainwashed people.
Sovereignty was never ceded!
Does that sound familiar?
Come on, babe. Let's go to Sunrise and f*** this up! Okay! F*** a birth! F*** Whitey! On your colonisation.
Yes, and now let's blame colonisation.
Hurry up! Oh, f*** it. F*** it. Burn this place to the ground!
Yeah, do you see the hate this indoctrination is causing? Anyway, now to a so-called New Zealand comedian who suffers from white privilege. And hat tip to John Ansell for this clip and the following clip.
Healthcare, one of New Zealand's favourite types of care. After I don't care, why do you care, and should I care? For most of us, our free healthcare system is something we get to lord over others. But while we've been busy showing off, it's been busy under-delivering for Māori, resulting in a life expectancy that's 7 years less than Pākehā. So how come when there's a global pandemic we can get our shit together instantly, but faced with systemic inequality we consistently fail? Are they going to actually fix it? And am I going to the doctor too much?
We're here in my childhood home. It is an embarrassment of riches.
Ah, the white privilege.
And I am here to go through some of my medical history. I've been to my GP and I've got them to print off all my bills, so we're just going to go through it. God, I've had so many hemorrhoids. we've been looking into healthcare in New Zealand, public healthcare, and what we've found is that Māori get the shit end of it pretty badly.
Oh yeah, correct.
Don't be diplomatic at all, please. As a Pākehā person, obviously, I get beautiful, stunning service.
Okay, rub it in.
Yeah.
It's about Māori getting less care and poorer quality care. It's that simple. Some research has been done about if you turn up in A&E with the symptoms of a heart attack and you're Māori and non-Māori, you'll get offered different treatment. The Pākehā person will be offered the more expensive and more aggressive treatment. And Māori don't always get asked if they've got health insurance and just get offered less options.
Absolute garbage.
I mean, obviously that's probably something that you're familiar with.
That's like just a story of mine.
How is the public health system servicing Māori?
Well, the short answer is that it's not, because it's not set up to serve Māori. It's not providing accessible services for whānau in poverty. And poverty obviously links back to colonisation.
Here we go again. Blame colonisation. Anyway, it continues, folks.
We can repair our economy. We can look after our mentally ill people. We can house people in the way that they can own their houses. We can look after our special needs whānau and children. We can fund wheelchairs and wheelchair ramps instead of giving our money to the Clinton Foundation. We can protect our sovereignty. We can. One of the leaders that of Ngāpuhi that I had great respect for and knew as I was growing up was a man called Kingi Taurua. This is his beautiful daughter here.
Okay. Kia ora koutou whānau mā. Ngā mihi kia koutou. Yes, we're here to stand on our rights of who we belong to, where we come from. And I wanted to talk about... We know that the government policies have done a lot of damage to us. We know through the taking of our Tohunga Act, taking our reo, taking our whenua. That's why we have issues around mental health. Mental health, the colonisation is why we have such issues with mental health.
No, colonisation has nothing to do with mental health. Your problems are caused by decades and decades of welfare, fatherless homes, drug and alcohol abuse, and child abuse. Own it and move forward. Yeah. Now, as you know, folks, our Marxist government want New Zealand history to be taught in schools by 2022. And of course, it won't be true. It will be based on that critical race theory that assumes all Western nations are inherently racist against blacks. No, folks, we simply cannot have that garbage in our schools.